For those of you who do not know, this is Keir Starmer. He is the head of the Labour Party in Britain, which is a left-leaning party. How left-leaning? Well, I guess a picture can be worth 1,000 words sometimes, right? They're very left, let's put it like this, even for the United States standards. And Keir Starmer is going to be asked a reasonable question because a lot of unions support him. You know, it's in the name, it's labor. What is the working class? It's a great question, right? Especially in the United Kingdom, where it's a country that had to deal with class issues, especially since it's still a monarchy up to this day. So let's see if Mr. Keir Starmer can get out of this very difficult pickle.
As working class. So, Keir, define working class.
I would say, though, that this is a very boring tactic now. Like, this is a tactic that gets you a lot of clicks, it wins you online debates, but at the end of the day, it's useless because you're asking someone something very basic. It's like asking you, what is electricity? And when you're asked that, you're like, is that thing that comes from the walls? It's like, yeah, but like, there's a lot of things that come from the walls. I'm asking, what is electricity? Or what is grass? Well, grass is that green plant that comes from the ground. It's like, yeah, but there are many green plants coming from the ground. I asked you, what is the grass? Right? You see how annoying this type of questioning is? Again, it's due to the fact that just because you can't explain what it is, like you can't give the actual definition of grass, it doesn't mean that you don't recognize what the grass is. It doesn't mean that you don't know what it is. However, you know, given how well paid British politicians are, and given the fact that you are the leader of the Labour Party, you should at least be able to somehow articulate what working class is. It's not that much of an ask.
No, working class is families that you know, work for their living, earn their money.
Unlike politicians. You know, I like this definition. No. Look, if you work for your living, right, it separates you from the intelligentsia and from the elites, like the politicians, like Labour. So far, you know, despite the fact that the commentator from LBC doesn't agree with the definition, I would say that it's a good start. We're not out of the woods yet, but it's a good start. Yeah, if you work for a living, you are working class, and you're definitely not part of Labour. At least not the leadership echelons of Labour.
Through going out to work every day, not through other
not middle
means.
classes.
See, COVID completely eradicated the working class according to this. Because they didn't go out to work, they work from home. So if you work from home, you're not working class.
Do that?
Well, working class families have the ordinary hope.
But like, what if you don't have a working class family? What if, like, the father is working class while the woman works from home? She doesn't actually go out. She's a VTuber. She's a VTuber. She does OnlyFans. That's more popular, more socially acceptable, right? So what do we do then? Like, what type of family is that, Mr. Keir Starmer? Oh, we're getting into complex issues now.
To get on in life. I mean, this has been a story.
Middle classes have that
Yeah,
as
of course they do. Of course they do.
So what's the distinction?
I was addressing a particular thing, I think, with working class families, which is this sense that. So I talked about the nagging voice that many families have. That this isn't.
Do many families have the nagging voice? Is that a thing? The nagging how does the nagging voice sound like? I told you to do the dishes and you have... Is that?
For you, this isn't for me. And I think that holds people back. But I do... Because people will say to me, well, look here.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to understand his argument. It's like, okay, so what is working class? Well, working class families have the nagging voice, which I think holds people back. So is this the difference between working class and elites? Like, the elites do not have the nagging voice, and they are not held back.
You know, you've come a long way.
Yeah, but you went to
you
state school.
Yeah, but...
Man, I really find it beautiful when the talking points just started there, because, like, 4 years ago, it would have been so simple. It's like, oh, white privilege, oh, privilege this, privilege that, cisgender, heteronormative, but when the ideology isn't there, they're struggling, aren't they? It's like they have to do this difficult thing that working class people have to do, which is called think for yourself. Yeah, the elites are struggling with that. Like, unless they're spoon-fed from a prompter, unless they have, like, a government aid, like, someone that helps them out, holds their hand, it's like, look, say this. Like, working class people, they're people without the need of a university. They don't have the need for a higher education to perform their labor. Right? Unless they have that, that is a lot more difficult to say. Oh, goodness gracious.
But that is the ordinary hope of the working class, which is to have a decent education, to get a decent security.
That's... No. God. Okay, so there are many ways to define the working class. Like, and I'm not even Googling it, by the way. Like, this is just from the top of my head. I want to know if I would be a decent pick for labor. What do you guys think? Huh? Like, the concept of working class started during the Industrial Revolution, which were people working in the factory, right? That's what the working class generally means. Now it's not like mathematical science where you can absolutely say, all right, well, this person is working class, this one isn't. Because there are some overlaps between certain people that are in between, if you will. But generally speaking, in 2024, what we would consider working class are people who can perform the job without having to go to a university. Now, you can still go to university to perform the job, but it's not required. So, for example, a doctor, right? A doctor has to go through med school in order to perform surgery. So, even though, like, he does an actual work that requires his body, right? Like, he needs to have the dexterity and then to sit there over the operating theater and actually move his hands in order to do the work. It is required for him to have the knowledge that he gained at med school through many years and then other years of training in order to perform the activity. Compare this to the cleaning lady. Right now, the cleaning lady does an essential job. She also performs it using her own body to perform the labor. But she is working class because you don't need a university to become the cleaning lady. The truckers. Truckers are one of the most essential jobs in a society. Like, you can have a society without diversity consultants, without lawyers. You can even have a society without doctors. Like, yeah, like for the most part of human history, we can say that societies existed without doctors. You can't have a society without truckers. And what I mean by this, it's like people carrying stuff around, right? Whether they actually drive a truck in order to do it or they had a horse and a carriage. It is essential, right? They used to be caravans before the truckers. But, like, these are the backbones of every single society because, like, some people don't have access to the resources that people downhill have. And the people downhill don't have the resources out. So, like, these are working class people. They perform essential jobs in society. They do not necessarily require an education to perform the job. Like, you don't need to go to a university to drive a truck. In fact, you don't even need to go to a school. Like, there are other ways people can learn things without having to go to school. Like, for example, apprenticeship, just simply learning by doing. There's other ways. So, yeah, like being a truck driver doesn't need any of these. You do need your to sell your body in order to do this work, right? Because there's like two types of ways to viewing the world, like selling your body or selling your mind. Sometimes you have to do both, like a surgeon. So there's an interlap. But, like, yeah, like the working class people, generally speaking, would be individuals that are selling their body in order to perform the work required, and they do not need higher education in order to perform the job. Now, historically speaking, due to the fact that it's a lot easier to find people that know how to pick vegetables from the ground or can drive trucks than it is to find people that can do spinal surgery, due to this, working class people are often a lot more poor than the people that aren't working class, right? So, like, a spinal surgeon is a lot more wealthy, he's got more connections, more influence than someone that picks vegetables. And due to that, the working class people realize that they have to unionize, and they realize that they need representation in order for them to have their grievances listened to. This is how the Labour Party comes into existence. So, the fact that the leader of the Labour Party isn't able to articulate this is a little bit bewildering for me. But, hey, you know, if you're from Britain, let me know. Would I do a good job being at the head of the Labour Party? Do I have the ideology pinned down? Am I doing a decent job At least not presenting myself to an interview. Because I think what's happening here is like most of these people, especially from the left, they get so many softball questions, they genuinely do not know how to answer difficult questions. This isn't even a difficult question, by the way. This isn't even like something where they're trying to entrap him, they're trying to ask him something that he can't answer. It's like a very basic question, which, you know, I gave him this from the beginning. It's not really a question that the audience necessarily likes to hear. But come on, you should know how to answer this. You should know, like, I'm willing to bet if you get Boris Johnson and you ask him what is a conservative, he may actually know how to answer that. Even though it would be in a hypocritical manner, but he would at least know the definition, I guarantee to you. Like, he would at least manage to know what a conservative is. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.